Well, welcome back to The Mouse and Men, where we explore the grown-up side of Disney. Find us online at themouseandmen.com, where you can find links to all of our social media profiles. You can find links or a link to YouTube, where we broadcast the podcast. And while you're there, download our top 10 things for grown-ups to do in Walt Disney World. I'm Bradley. I'm here with my co-caster, Chris. Chris, welcome to episode number 50 of The Mouse and Men. We've made it this far.
Man, I'm so excited. 50 episodes? It seems like just last year we started this little show, and here we are. But wait a second, we did.
Well, so this is our 50th episode. In October, Disney is celebrating the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World Resort. So what better way to celebrate both than a top 50 list of things we love about Disney, Disney World, everything about the mouse, loved by these two men. So today we're just going to hit these as rapid fire as possible, and see how, we may go over 50 a little bit. We'll have some honorable mentions. That's allowed. It's 50 plus. We'll call it that.
Yeah.
So
if Disney has Disney Plus, we can do 50 plus.
Exactly. So let's just jump right into our top 50 reasons we love Disney. Chris, why don't you kick us off?
Okay, I appreciate that. And again, I don't know if I appropriately said this a second ago when we were doing our introduction, but congratulations on 50 episodes. This feels great to be here. It's different than the way that it was supposed to be. We were going to start about 6 months sooner than we did. And then the pandemic happened, and we were going to record almost all of these episodes in person, just sitting in a room together. And that hasn't happened since the very early recordings that we did because of the pandemic. But thank goodness for technology. Thank goodness for Zoom, because we were able to connect here, have a good video recording of what we do and an audio recording of what we do. So now we can offer it on, like we've been doing for quite a while, on YouTube and on your podcast player of choice as well. But it's been a pleasure for the last year to sit across and to have these episodes. It is crazy that it's already been 50 episodes and coming up on a year that we've been doing this. But as we rock it off here into our 50 plus here, I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate it. And congratulations to you too, sir.
Congratulations to you. And thank you, Chris. Thank you to our listeners for just joining in with us, because it's a big party and we love it.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's actually my number one. My number one is how Disney in its fandom brings other people together. I feel like that you and I, we have a lot of shared interests, but Disney being one of those main things that we love to just sit around and chat about, or text each other articles about, or, hey, can you believe this is coming? Or this new TV show is coming on Disney Plus. Like, we get so excited talking about this stuff. And I love how Disney brings people together. So my number one is how Disney brings friends, family, people that have similar interests together to just enjoy the world of Walt Disney and all that has been created over the last 100 years.
I agree. I mean, it brought us together. When we first started working together, we talked three things: music, SEC football, and Disney. And
right.
We've got a Disney podcast. Quick shout out to Third Saturday in October, our other podcast that's about SEC football. Maybe one day we'll get to music as well. I promise I won't go on like this for everything that we mentioned, because it would take 14 hours.
Yeah, we got a long
list. Kind of time. We wouldn't expect you to sit through all that. So my first one is, I don't know, it's a little bit more superficial than yours.
Oh,
Doritos. If you didn't know, Disneyland is where Doritos started.
Yes.
They had it's like Casa de Fritos or something
I believe you're right.
The name of the restaurant.
Well done.
They had some stale or tortilla chips from the day before. What do we do with them? We'll sprinkle some flavoring on them. bada bing, you've got Doritos. We enjoyed some last night. My son absolutely loves them, ate half a bag on the way home
Oh,
from the
cool.
grocery store. So Doritos is where I'm starting. So
I love it.
we're two in. Chris, what's number 3 for you?
Man, I got to tell you, this is going to be difficult because I'm looking at a piece of paper, trying to keep up with where we're at. Then I'm looking at my lists on my iPad of where I want to go. So if I'm doing this for the entire YouTube visual thing, just know that I'm like a mad scientist over here trying to make sure that we get all 50 in.
I've got analog, chicken scratch for how many we've done.
Here we go. I got so many things over here.
Yeah, I've got the iPad with my list, checking them off. I'm right there.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so for my number 2, I'm going to piggyback off of your Doritos thing and go all the way over to Epcot to the Cantina at San Angel over in the Mexico Pavilion. I'm probably got that the name wrong, but what I want to focus on mostly is their delicious tacos, margaritas, and churros. It's one of my favorites. I've got to do it every time I'm at Epcot, and I love that as a lunch while I'm at Epcot. I almost look forward to that lunch there at the Cantina as much as I do going to Epcot itself. So for my number 2, the tacos, margaritas, and churros at the Cantina.
Well, and for number 4, I'm going to stick with food just a little bit. This is an experience. So I'll try to make this quick. My wife and I, pre-kids, are walking through Magic Kingdom trying to get to Splash Mountain or Big Thunder Mountain. We're trying to get there, but there's a parade happening and there are crowds. So we're trying to get through, and a cast member with a like food restocking cart is going through and, kindly yelling at people, "Hey, please clear a path. I've got to get through.
Get out of the way."
And she sees us trying to get through as well. And she says, "Hey, follow me." Like, awesome.
Nice.
So we follow her. When we get through the crowd, she breaks off towards Adventureland, and we're going to keep going to Frontierland. And we wait and we're like, "Oh, thank you." And she's like, No. Come with me. Now, Jessie's also wearing a big pin that says, "Happy birthday," or "I'm celebrating my birthday," whatever. So we follow her. She gets to the turkey leg cart and tells the cast member in charge there, "Hey, give these 2 people turkey legs." So
What?
not only did we get a fast pass through the crowd, but we each also got ginormous turkey legs.
Whoa.
They were delicious. I know it's like $5,000 per leg, not quite, but it feels that expensive.
Right.
They were delicious. So we ate as much as we could, having just eaten dinner. But really enjoyed that. But Disney makes every guest feel special. And I absolutely love that. They have the ability to go above and beyond. That's what they did there.
Yep.
And so it's not just the free turkey leg. It's just the interaction with the cast members the whole time to create that special feeling. That was number 4.
That's great. I love that. I think that it's so special the way that we are treated as guests from cast members. And it just, again, I always feel like I'm family when I'm on property there at Disney, which kind of leads into my next one as well. I love, when I was little and I would go to Disney World, I was obsessed with art. And I've talked about it here on this program. So you only have to sift through 50 episodes to find my conversation about this. But of just being able to be in a park and to stand behind an artist while they're drawing a Disney character or they're drawing a person who they're doing a caricature of. I fell in love and had a deeper understanding and a desire to do art when I would go to Disney World. It was like they spoke to little Chris. And just because of that, I feel like a part of my world has been looking at things through an artistic lens, looking at things like how would Walt do it, sort of thing. And so again, kind of a cast member experience, sort of what you're talking about, but specifically the artists that they have in the parks drawing there that little Chris was able to experience. And now even as I go back, if I can find one, I tell the family, like, give me a few minutes because I want to remember this like I did when I was a kid. So the art experiences that we see cast members doing around the parks.
I love it. In that same vein, and this is a more popular one. So, Chris, I may be stealing one from your list.
Do it, man.
But you said looking through that lens, and one of those lenses that Disney has created, and I think it comes from making movies and kind of the 3D projections that they kind of pioneered, with the different layers moving at different speeds, is forced perspective.
Oh,
The,
yes.
I mean, it's not just on Main Street. It's in all the castles. It's in Epcot. Um, it's everywhere. But that forced perspective, thinking through, hey, also they force your perspective as you walk into the Magic Kingdom. You go underneath the train tracks. It blocks the view of the castle. And your first view is when you come from underneath, come around the little entryway, and as you start down Main Street, there's the castle reveal. So that forced perspective is number 6 on our top 50 list.
Well done. And with that, my idea is not necessarily only the forced perspective, but for my 4th on the list, I guess number 7 overall, is the idea of Disney planning out visual experiences for their guests, whether it's experiencing the castle for the first time in Disney World, or a little less exciting, but still like, whoa, it's different. The experience of seeing the castle at Disneyland. And then also little things like, if you look at the back of the Tower of Terror from Epcot, it looks like a building from Morocco, because they know that you could see it from the Morocco pavilion. And so they design it so your mind doesn't have to do the mental gymnastics of like, hey, wait, I was pretending like I was in Morocco, but now I see the Tower of Terror over at Hollywood Studios. That's a bummer.
Right.
They decorated it to make it look like, and so the experiences visually that the Disney employees, the cast members, the Imagineers, what they think of to go when they're going through all of this stuff, it's like giving me chills right now just thinking about all of the details that they think about to give us an immersive experience.
I agree. So kind of with that, everything, and I truly mean everything, at Walt Disney World has a backstory.
Yes.
From, I mean, the smallest details, like you said, Tower of Terror is made to look the same color as the Morocco Pavilion, because when you're looking at the Morocco Pavilion, it's kind of standing right there behind it. Mm-hmm. Much like, and this was on purpose, the Eiffel Tower sits behind the France Pavilion. But they wanted to make it all fit, and they thought through those details. One of those details that they think through are the backstories. The transitions, the little things in the transitions between lands all have stories. And it's fun talking to cast members, learning those backstories. Just the amount of thought that goes into that is just mind blowing. But that is one of my top 50 reasons I love Disney. So we're up to 8. Chris, what about number 9?
Well, okay, so this is one that I feel like is something that you and I talk about quite a bit, but kind of just falling back on these last few that we've been talking about. My number, I guess our number 9, my number 5 is Imagineers, period. Yeah. Whether it's the documentary, the multi-part documentary that we've watched on Disney Plus about the Imagineering experience, or just the idea of what they do. Like, their job sounds like the most incredible job in the world to me. That they take that imagination and the engineering to create something that is an experience that we can love for decades, whether it be in a movie or specifically, I guess, with the Imagineers in a park experience. It's just incredible. And I've always had a love for Imagineers. I have had a desire to be an Imagineer over the years, because it seems like the greatest job in the world to like put that form and function and art and experience all together for our enjoyment when we're in the park. So Imagineers is my next one. And again, maybe one of my top things. I'm not necessarily going on any particular order here, but it would be close to the top with one of my, if I had to go in order, Imagineers would be right up there with my top 50.
Yeah. One of the things that the Imagineers do, and I'm going to use this for number 10, and this started with Walt, is making education entertaining. Or Orlando. Epcot is chock full of educational opportunities, and it's very entertaining. I mean, just walk around, you're going to learn something. Hopefully we're making education about Disney and Disney World entertaining here. So 10, that's number 10. We're fifth of the way through this list. I think we're doing pretty good. Chris, take us to number 11.
You know what? I'm going to stick in Epcot right now with you just talking about that the infotainment or edutainment stuff, and then just talk about the land. I love the land. I think it's like, I don't know that my teenage or 20-year-old self would have appreciated it, or I know that that version of myself didn't appreciate it as much as a guy in his early 40s appreciates it. But I love to go over there and see how things are grown in the hydroponics or the aquaponics and learn how different ways that you can create sustainable food for now and in the future. It's amazing. And one of the best places to eat for my dollar on any of the parks or any of the resorts. I love eating there at the garden area of the land. I feel like there's a great mix of like a fast food environment mixed with some really great healthy choices. And I feel like I'm full. I feel like I'm nourished when I leave there. And also the Garden Grill at the land has one of my most favorite breakfast experiences that I've ever had, Walt Disney World or otherwise. I just love that area. I could spend more time there. And usually I have to leave because the kids are like, come on, Dad, let's go learn about or see something else or go ride something else. So for my money, the land is one of the best experiences for this guy to experience when in Epcot at Walt Disney World.
Well, you mentioned that the land now or the land for you now is not the same as it was for you when you were in your 20s or in your teens. But when you're in your teens, when you're in your 20s, there were different things that appealed to you. Mm-hmm. There is something for everyone at Walt Disney World, and there's something for every stage of your growing up. And I love that because you can take a family, from newborn to 80 years old, and there's something for everybody, because not everybody's going to want to ride Space Mountain 14 times. Not everybody's going to want to, spend all day going through the land and, just keep living with the land tour over and over again. So there's something for everyone.
Yeah. That's a good point. And that's going to be my number 7. Our total number 13 is just kind of the choose your own adventure style experiences that you can have at Disney. Like you're saying, there's something for everyone, but like not one of my vacations has been the same. Some of them have been similar because when you get inside a hotel room at Disney, oftentimes, whether it's the more expensive resorts or the value resorts, the inside of the room may have some colors and decorational differences. But for me and my family, it's got the 2 beds. Got a bathroom, and so if you're just staying in the room, you can have a visual difference, but similar as far as the amenities go. But like you and I, we've gone there and camped out. I have gone and stayed at one of the more expensive yacht and beach club and had that experience, and that's been amazing. Or staying at a value resort and really appreciating the fact that I didn't have to spend every one of my dollars just being able to stay here, sort of thing, that my dollars could spread out a little more. And Disney World and Disneyland is not an inexpensive place. You're going to be charged a premium while you're there, but depending on what your budget is, there's always something that you or your travel agent can go through to find an experience and find a budget that you can still have a great time there. So I'm just like fun for all people, choose your own adventure kind of thing. I think is a great thing to mention on our top 50.
Yeah. And for number 14, along with that, I will say I love that I can get to Disney property and then I virtually never have to leave my entire stay. Everything is there. I mean,
Yeah.
I can fill up with gas. I can and get a few things. There's some convenience stores. There are gift shops with different snack options, food options. I don't have to leave the resort if I don't want to. Everything is there pretty much that I could need. It makes it feel transportive in that I'm
Well said.
in a different place, which is very fun when you go on vacation to just leave everything else at the door.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And sometimes those experiences are a little less convenient. I know that you and I were joking a few weeks ago about, for me, when we stayed at the Yacht and Beach Club, we stayed at the Yacht Club. And the Beach Club is where we could go get our coffees or drinks or our Danishes in the morning. And it was the literal exact opposite side of that combined resort area of the Yacht and Beach Club. It was the exact opposite end. And so for me, I would wake up in the morning. Sometimes the kids would still be asleep, and I would have our little refillable coffee mugs. And then I would make what felt like, I don't know, 15, 20-minute trek to go refill it. But I was all within the Yacht and the Beach Club. And every morning I was like, ugh, I got to go take this walk and go get this coffee for me and my wife to have our caffeine for the day. But now looking back on that experience, it was one of the most memorable things because I appreciated and enjoyed the fact that like I was at Disney the whole time. And so even a trudgery kind of errand that I was running every morning became a memory that I now look back on fondly. So I just wanted to add that to what you said. But as for my number 8 here, or our total number 15, I wanted to say that something that's about to be taken out that we won't have experienced again, and something that I've actually never experienced, but I've always loved it, which is the Disney Magical Express. That if you fly into Orlando, that the Disney's Magical Express will pick you up and take you to your resort, meaning that you don't even really have to, like, once you get off the plane, you are already taken care of by Disney. And I hate that this is going away. I'm assuming it's going away because Disney probably has something in the works that is going to be competitive with something. I don't know if it's like an Elon Musk Hyperloop situation from Orlando Airport to Disney, or if it's a monorail or something, or if they're just doing away with transporting the guests from airport to the parks. But I just always love the idea that once you get off a plane, and again, I've always driven to my experiences at Disney World, but I love the idea that those of us that are flying in, that once you get off the plane, you don't have to worry about ground transportation. You don't have to worry about finding an Uber or a Lyft. They just got you. And so even though it's going away, while it's still under the 2021 timeframe, I'm wanting to say that Disney's Magical Express is something that I've always been impressed by with Disney.
It's pretty awesome. We rode it at least once. I may have done it as a kid as well. I can't remember if we ever flew down there, but Jessie and I did it as adults. They pick up your bags. So you just, whatever carry-on luggage you have, you get on the bus. There are little Disney cartoons that play as you ride over from the airport.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a blast. And I will piggyback on that to say for number 16, all of Disney transportation.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You get to resort property and you don't have to get in your car. Whether it's, with the help of Uber and Lyft now, but also the bus system is great. They've got the monorail. They now have the Skyliner, that Magical Express to get you to and from the airport. It's great. So no need to park a car, especially since they charge you every night for it.
Yeah.
Just get there and let Disney do the rest.
That's well said. I love that. And piggybacking on Disney transportation, I'm going to say one of my favorite, this would absolutely be in my top 10, is the Disney transportation air conditioning units that they have on those buses. It's like one of my favorite things, whether it was before kids or since when kids were very little, or now that our kids are older. And just for us adults, there is nothing like having a long day in the park where it's been hot and you've been standing around and all that humidity and the Orlando heat in the summertime. And then you get on that bus and they turn the lights off and that AC starts to like slowly cool you back down to a living temperature. And just the like everybody just relaxes and people falling asleep before they get to their destinations when they're going back to the resorts. And I love that memory, that experience. And it's been something that I have, I've felt myself and now I'm watching my kids experience, but there's something that's magical about that air conditioning unit that's on those buses. And so for what it's worth, Disney transportation bus air conditioning units has got to be in my top 25, if not my top 10 altogether.
Yeah. I mean, you go from overheated in the parks to getting on the bus and just freezing cold. And it's a good kind of freezing cold because it's so refreshing. For number 18, we've talked about getting on the property and then you don't have to worry about anything else. The Disney bubble. So if you go meet a character, talk to a character, especially the not the costume, like the Mickey and Minnie behind me in my backdrop, but the princes and princesses, you can talk to them. You mentioned Harry Potter, you mentioned, PS4. They don't know what you're talking about. They create this alternate universe where all that exists is Disney. And
that's awesome.
It's pretty cool how it gets executed. It's just awesome to witness. If you want to have a little fun, say, hey, Cinderella, you were great in that Harry Potter movie. What? just see what happens. But that Disney bubble is pretty magical.
That's great. I love that. And, which kind of leads to one of my top 25 or our top 50. I keep getting all the numbers skewed here, but as for my next one, I'm going to go with Disney intellectual property. I love especially over the last decade, maybe 2 decades now, the advances they've made to increase the Disney universe to include things like Star Wars or Avatar or Marvel or Pixar now, even though it felt to me Pixar was always kind of a Disney thing, to now be actually under the Disney banner. And it's been there for a while, so it's not new news here. But I love that idea. And what reminded me to say it was the Harry Potter thing. I was hoping when I thought of Harry Potter as something in a theme park, man, I wanted Disney to get it so bad.
Right.
And when I first heard of Avatar and not Harry Potter, I was like, Avatar's got one movie, and I know that there are all these things that are planned for it, but who knows if they'll come to fruition. But Harry Potter, it just seems like such a match made in heaven. But it being a Warner Brothers thing, and Universal ended up getting it, and having been to that world, Universal did a bang up job. Yeah. But I felt like the Harry Potter universe would have fit very well into those other intellectual properties like Star Wars, like Marvel that Disney already has. And so shout out to Disney procuring other intellectual properties as part of their Disney universe. And then just a little sadness that Harry Potter wasn't a part of it, because my wife and I are such big Harry Potter fans, that would have been like just for us, a match made in heaven.
Yeah. I will kind of piggyback onto that for number 20. The way that Disney acquires intellectual property. So some companies acquire other companies to, just kind of break them up, sell them off, whatever.
True.
Reading Bob Iger's book, Ride of a Lifetime, seeing how they acquired Pixar, they realized Pixar could kind of bring back some of the Disney storytelling that was beginning to fade. New animation techniques. Disney could help Pixar because they could basically bankroll this stuff.
Yeah.
Then comes Marvel, and Disney sees, because they had tried to get into some more grown up material, for older kids, and adults. What can we do? And when they worked this deal with Marvel, I mean, it has just blown up. We're going into, I don't know how, 25, 26 movies now. I think we'll hit, because I think it's 23 by Endgame, and then we've got a couple more coming out this year. But then Lucasfilm, I mean, they were working with Star Wars and Indiana Jones before, but now they can give Star Wars fans, especially, new content that they've been craving for decades. The way that Disney has acquired these pieces of intellectual property to make them better, the different intellectual, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, make them better and help Disney. They're not just in it for themselves. So the way that they handle that is number 20 on our list. So
Nice.
Chris, I'll hand it back to you for 21.
Yeah. Well, again, I love this piggybacking form that we're following here. And with that, just the TV shows that have premiered on Disney Plus over the past year and a half or so has been spectacular. When I heard about The Mandalorian, I was like, oh, a TV show about Star Wars. Interesting. I will check this out, and fell in love with the Western gunslinger kind of way that they did The Mandalorian, but inside the Star Wars universe, which is so cool. And then to think about how I feel as probably not a hardcore fan of Marvel, but like a fan. But I'm not sitting on every word. I didn't grow up reading the comics with regularity like I know that a lot of people have. But I feel like that as a consumer and as a fan of those types of superhero movies, that they have done those movies justice. Especially leading up to a couple of like different Hulk or Incredible Hulk movies that were in the 2000s or so, that I believe actually were Sony and not Disney or / Marvel kind of things. The way that Disney / Marvel has handled all of their characters, the art of all the storylines, these timelines and everything, I think have been beautiful. But specifically, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and now Loki, and just the Marvel world, but then with Mandalorian as well. I've been blown away. I remember when I heard they were going to do these TV shows, and I was like, well, okay, about characters that I've never heard of before or that I knew little about. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm now so invested in somebody like Wanda or Vision or the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and even more so Loki, and now the new universe that's being created around that. Like, I'm becoming rabid fans of these lesser known characters. Like in my mind, I think of Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man, Thor, like the Avengers guys as like the main people. But I am such a fan and becoming a hardcore fan of these from the TV shows that felt like to me were more experiments than like this tried and true thing that you could do at the theaters. So for what it's worth, I know that I'm putting a big overarching thing on the Marvel and Star Wars TV shows, but the TV shows in general have just blown me away. And I think that they could all probably have their own number on this list, but I will just say that the TV shows so far in the Star Wars and Marvel universes have just been spectacular.
Agreed. And I'm rewatching WandaVision so my wife can see it. It's so cool because they own everything. They can take a few more risks, do things a little bit differently, and it's just brilliant. In sticking with series on Disney Plus, the magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom. It's not just about the park, the Animal Kingdom, but how they take care of animals across all their Disney properties. And just seeing how Disney takes care of animals is fantastic. If they do anything, they want to do it well. They want to do it the best. And with animals, it's it's no different. So taking care of animals is number 22 on our list. So
Sticking into Disney Plus for number 23 on the list, I'm going to say The World According to Jeff Goldblum. That little series, it just was so fun and so quirky and so clever. And when it premiered a little over a year ago, us being currently in June of 2021, when it premiered last spring, it was what I needed. The pandemic was raging. Things seemed so uncertain. I didn't know to even go to the grocery store at that time. Remember that we would buy groceries and then bring them home and leave them outside for a while and then cleaning them off. It was a messed up time in the world. But to be able to watch Jeff Goldblum and his interesting, unique self bring a unique perspective to just a Disney show, it was clever. It was light. It was what I needed as the pandemic was really kicking off last year. And so I think for me, even with my years of Disney fandom, something that has premiered recently, and something kind of silly like The World According to Jeff Goldblum, I feel like for me, it deserves a mention on this list because it really got me and my family through a pretty hard time this time last year. So The World According to Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. What's great about that show? Jeff Goldblum just gets so excited about
he does
anything, really.
Anything. Yeah.
But with all these shows that we've talked about, with the movies, for the most part, there are certain movies that kind of miss the mark. But the thing that Walt really preached as they were getting started is that if the story isn't great, nothing else matters. Mm-hmm. And, Snow White was groundbreaking because for the first time they animated an hour and a half plus feature film, but the story had to be great. And Walt he's like, I know I can make people laugh. I've been doing that with the Mickey cartoons. I want to make people scared. I want to make people cry. And, when Snow White's running through the forest and, she's imagining all these spooky things, the trees coming to life and trying to eat her or whatever. That was pretty scary. And then when she takes a bite of the apple, people in the premiere theater were crying, they had some tears. And Walt said, that's what I wanted to do. And he always preached, if the story's not there, nothing else matters. And
so true.
They've carried that through to today. If the story isn't great, we'll either scrap it or we'll keep working on it until the story.
Keep tweaking. Yeah. Yeah. That's well said. I think also what deserves a mention here, kind of moving back into everything that Disney does, whether it's their intellectual property on Disney Plus or what you can experience when you're at the resorts or at the Walt Disney World or Disneyland or all the ones around the world. It's just the fact that they encourage imagination and that childlike feeling of, when you kind of were alluding to it there with the Disney himself, Walt Disney wanted to not just elicit funniness through his cartoons. He wanted to elicit all the emotions that you could experience and putting story and structure first. That it's nice to be able to walk into somewhere and it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, what you're wearing. You can be as silly as you want to. You can be as hardcore of a fan as you want to, or just some newbie that is the first time they've ever visited, and everybody is accepted just as they are. And we not only accepted, but encouraged to keep enjoying that imagination and that experience. Look, the screen behind you, we've got a fairy tale castle and two mice dressed up in nice kind of tuxedo dress clothes. And we all look at this as Disney fans and this is perfect. But if the idea of hey, two grown men sitting here talking about two mice dressed up in tuxedos and a nice dancing dress or something like that, it sounds funny, but it's encouraged at Disney. And I think that encouragement just allows you to just go there and be yourself and to relax. in the atmosphere that Disney has created for us. And I think that's just amazing. So the fact that they encourage imagination should be on the list, in my opinion.
Well, that's number 25. We're halfway through our list.
Woohoo!
I will piggyback onto that to say what creates that magic is a lot of the friendliness of the cast members. The cast members are the ones who create the magic. And I'm just blown away the more that I see cast members create those little magical moments. They're encouraged to do that. They're encouraged to do things like give away a free turkey leg just to help somebody have a little bit better day. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it at friendliness of cast members.
Love it. Yeah, love it. Okay, so you got me back on some in the park food that I have to mention next. One of my favorite things to do is to sit at Rose and Crown Pub in Epcot and to get some bangers and mash or some fish and chips and await the fireworks show or the show to start out there on the little water area there. And that's all well and good. But the fact that at that same place, I can get a flight of scotches to just sample and to try. Yeah. I think it's like 12 or 13 bucks. I think that there's maybe you could still do it with beer as well there at Rose and Crown, but there is nothing more adult for me is to sit back and just have an adult beverage and just to have conversation with those people at my table and just enjoy it. So in the middle of the happiest place on earth where a mouse runs the whole thing, I can still feel like, and it just, whether my kids were little before they were here or even now as they get a little older, I can sit back and enjoy an adult beverage and feel okay about it. I know that that's not the case at all parks or all experiences, but something about the Rose and Crown, having a little scotch, having a traditional United Kingdom style dinner, and then waiting for what used to be, I guess, illuminations and what all this is coming since then. It's nice to feel that breeze coming off. And so just those little moments that I try to recreate when I go back. And I'm really trying to go to the parks and experiencing more things because, man, as many times I've been at Rose and Crown, as many times I've been at the Cantina, as many times I've been to Casey's Corner, or Flame Tree Barbecue and Animal Kingdom, I'm wanting to try different experiences, but it's hard because I want to go back and experience those memories again. But one of my favorite memories is Rose and Crown with a nice adult beverage.
I'm going to stick with kind of the food theme there.
Cool.
And I'm just going to say food and treats. I mean, you can get great food anywhere. You can try a lot of different cuisines in Epcot, but you can try a lot of different cuisines all over the resort. But also treats, Food and Wine Festival. They've even got some special stuff for Flower and Garden. You go to the Christmas party, whether they have it or not this year, I don't know. They've got special cookies there. Then at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party this year, Boo Bash, they've got special treats plus trick-or-treating. If you like food, if you like tasting different foods, there are a lot of options in every park, in every place you can go on Disney property. So just go and eat your way through the entire resort. It's going to be delicious.
Yes, you may walk away. You think that you're going to lose weight because you're walking around in the hot Florida sun and you're sweating and you're probably dehydrated most of the time when you're down there. And that seems like you're going to come back and get on the scale and like, whoa, I lost 7 pounds while I walked around Disney for 20,000 steps a day. But then you add in the fact of, you can go eat your way around in all of those areas and such delicious food. It for me usually is either they cancel themselves out or I come back a pound or two heavier than I were, even with all the walking and sweating. But I love it too. One of my favorite experiences, and this will be my number 32, I guess, or maybe I'm losing count here. 30
5,
or 32.
10, 15, 20, 25, 26, 27. I believe this is 29.
29. Okay. So 29 for me is in Casey's Corner at the Magic Kingdom, and specifically getting a soda getting a hot dog, and then going and finding a nice seat near the piano outside on the patio area there, and listening to some amazing ragtime music while you're kind of just in that environment of like this cool, maybe 1920s, 1930s kind of soda shop, Casey's Corner vibe, and listening to that ragtime music. There are a few things in life that makes me feel as good as a hot dog and some ragtime there at Casey's Corner.
You know, I can't wait for Casey's Corner to open back up. Just the other day, they changed some menu items, which means
really,
hopefully they're opening up very soon.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You know, with them changing menu items, there are always going to be people who are disappointed that some things are going away. But something that Disney is really intentional about is always getting better. Always trying to figure out, okay, how can we provide a better experience for our guests and provide a better experience for our cast members? Yes, provide a better experience for our bottom line. But they're always trying to improve what they do without sacrificing guest satisfaction.
Yeah.
That's not just great for a theme park and for a resort, but it's great for business as well. Thinking about what tweaks can we make to improve just a little bit, improve 1% each day is what a coach used to tell me. And at the end of 100 days, you're not 100% better. It compounds and
so smart.
And you're so much more than 100% better. And that's something that Disney does every day.
You know, I just adding on that, I won't use this as an official number here, but I appreciate it too, how they can sometimes change little things to enhance the experience. And sometimes the experience is enhanced, like, 15 years ago when they brought in Jack Sparrow into Pirates of the Caribbean. You take a long existing ride, you make a movie about it, you bring in a little element of that movie to then update the entire thing to make it feel like it's the same experience, but it's new. I love how they think through, how can we do this in a way to where it doesn't lose the essence of what it was, but we can add new reasons for people to appreciate the ride. Sometimes that means getting rid of a ride altogether, which is sometimes sad for us. And I couldn't imagine what Disney has to do to try to keep all of us happy, because, the minute that you add something else is going to create a negative thing for somebody. But the fact that they continue to draw us in as customers and as fans year after year, and then updating little things, and, maybe it's not just an intellectual property thing. With this new Jungle Cruise movie that's coming out, they were doing some updates to the Jungle Cruise, but also to make it more palatable for the mass audience in 2021 to appreciate it in ways that maybe we were looking past some things that we probably should have looked and like, is that okay to talk about, or is that character to act like that they can try to update things along the way, again, to not lose the essence of something like the Jungle Cruise, but to make it more palatable for an audience in 2021 and the needs and desires we have culturally. That's a delicate balance. And the fact that they pull that off more times than not should be applauded, because I think it's pretty spectacular to be able to handle all of that. Yeah. With that, I will say that my next on the list here is going to be something that you brought to my attention, and something that we've dedicated an entire episode about, which is the 4 keys that Disney does. Essentially, this is more for cast members that work at Disney World when interacting with the things that they have responsibility over at the resorts, as well as customer satisfaction and safety. But the fact that their intentionality around that kind of guest experience satisfaction, that's one of the reasons why my family has gone back year after year after year, when we know what to expect for the most part, other than maybe that one new ride that we want to try. But we know that we're going to be taken care of as guests. And I think those 4 keys that you introduced me to, and that we've done a full episode on, it's amazing to see a company that big care about the small details.
I love them too. That leads into number 32.
32, yeah.
not only does Disney have those 4 keys, now 5 keys, because they've got, I believe,
That's right.
inclusion. Is
Inclusion.
how they titled it. They're willing to share what they have learned through the Disney Institute. I've read the Disney Institute has put out a book, Be Our Guest, that's on my reading list. But then
good to know.
Jeff Knoll, who used to teach at the Disney Institute, has a book. Lee Cockrell, who helped get the Disney Institute up and running when he was VP of Operations, has written, I believe, 4 books. I've read those 4. But then the Institute also has online classes, in-person conventions. The in-person conventions, some of them you get to go backstage and see how Disney really does it. But they are not afraid to share what they've learned along the way, and specifically at Walt Disney World over the last 50 years.
Well said. No, I love that. Was that your number 32?
That's our collective number 32. So
Gotcha.
Now
Cool.
To you for 33, if I'm counting all this right.
I think you are. And number 33 for me, number 1 in your hearts, is for me, the Hoop-de-Doo musical review. I and my family, we have gone to the Hoop-de-Doo musical review so many times. It's kind of silly because it's not a cheap meal, and it's essentially the same event over and over. You've got a cast of characters on stage doing a stage play that has changed very little in the years that I've been going. It's the same food, but gosh darn it, if it's not the most fun that we have spending an evening in Disney every time, to go to the Hoop-de-Doo musical review. And again, with a lot of what happens at Disney, that familiarity, the nostalgia that we are reminded of when we do something like the Hoop-de-Doo musical review, or climbing the Swiss Family Treehouse, or whatever it may be. All of these memories and moments that they make for us are reasons why we shell out hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars per vacation. But the Hoop-de-Doo musical review is something that we always have to try, and we always love, and everything from arriving there and just enjoying the environment before the show starts, getting your picture taken, going in, having the experience of where you're going to sit, how close is it going to be to the stage, and then getting that delicious fried chicken and those ribs and all of the sides, and then the strawberry shortcake afterwards. It's just such a fun experience. I'm looking forward to when that is up and running again in the parks. But man, I couldn't have a top 25 or top 50 list without mentioning the Hoop-de-Doo musical review.
I mean, you have talked to me about Hoop-de-Doo countless times. It's like, we got to do this. So, we're going to it this night, whatever. Just putting on an excellent experience like Hoop-de-Doo review and packing so much in that you can't do it in one visit. Those 2 things are a recipe for repeatability.
True.
And you can go back to Disney countless times and not experience every little thing. Part of that is also because they periodically change things. But that repeatability is just, sometimes you go on vacation, you visit someplace, it's like, I've been there, done that, great. Other times you go, it's like, that was so awesome, I want to go back again. And that's how I am with Walt Disney World. And I don't think that's by accident. I think it's through careful planning and execution.
Yeah, I agree. Well said. All right, man. We are knocking them out.
Yeah, so that was 34. Chris, take us to 35.
35. You know what? I'm going to go back to one of the things that I experienced as a child. I think I was probably 6, maybe 7. I could have been younger. The first time that I was there, the idea of the monorail, which is this is my number, it blew me away. Like, it seems so futuristic. And I know that even when I experienced probably in the early 80s, that it was something that had been there for over a decade at that point. But for me, it looked like the future. And the fact that how it can like wind around and go to Magic Kingdom and then through the different resorts, and then it can, skirt by Epcot. Like I felt like I was in the Jetsons. when I was a little guy, 5, 6, 7, however old I was. And so the monorail was one of those early memories for me that I just, when I think back on, I get a smile on my face, and even something like the little thing that is said as you step into the monorail. My wife and her sister, they had it memorized. And so when I first started going back to Disney with my fiance, then wife, it was one thing that they would say when they would get on the monorail. And it's something that, to the degree of like, no eating or drinking or flash photography on here. But then they would say it in Spanish, and they knew it word for word, and even the inflections of the person that did the voiceover. They knew every little detail of it, which was just hilarious to me. But the monorail is such a unique thing to Disney that I feel like it deserves its own place, because I can't think of Disney without thinking of the monorail. Even if I go to Disney, there have been times where I've gone on vacation there and not even gotten on the monorail. But the fact that it's there, and maybe that's the whole other point to put down, is the fact that repeatability is very nice. And the fact that like I can go back and have so many of these experiences that I experienced when I was a child. Now I can see it through the eyes of my own children. And now as my own children are getting older, I'm sure in a few years we'll take their children and they'll experience the monorail for the first time, or seeing Cinderella's castle for the first time. And the idea that it is here for generations is just spectacular. But the monorail specifically was something that was an early memory that I fell in love with, and just seems so futuristic and cool to me.
It is so cool. I've gotten to stay in the contemporary once, and having it just come through the middle of your hotel is awesome.
Yeah.
Getting to ride it when they have the little light parade on the lake right there is pretty awesome. At night. They'll stop the monorail so you can watch. Where I'm going to for 36 is back to creating magic. It all starts with the cast members, but also other guests create special magical moments. So I mentioned earlier that my wife was wearing a little happy birthday pin. We've had celebration pins for when we honeymooned. We've done birthday pins. When we take my son, it's going to be a first visit pin. But that it kind of signals to other guests, hey, somebody's celebrating something and they want to be a part of it. So it may have been we were in line for Peter Pan. It could have been something else, but we were there for the week of my wife's birthday. She's wearing the pin, and the guests around us, I don't think it was started by a cast member. It may have been, but then other guests joined in. The people in the queue in the line are all singing happy birthday to my wife.
Oh, that's so cool.
In the middle of waiting for an attraction, in the middle of Walt Disney World. Awesome. What a fun moment to be a part of that. All these complete strangers singing happy birthday to my wife. It was awesome.
That's amazing. That's so cool. I love that that memory, that story. And I don't think out of all the memories and conversations that you and I have had about that, I don't think I remember that story. So that's cool to hear.
I didn't either. My wife reminded me of it just the other night. And obviously it meant a lot to her because that was probably 7 or 8 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. That's very cool. That's very cool. Okay. So for my, I guess this is probably number 37.
Yep. 37.
I'm going to go with Dole Whips, and I can just end right there and let you go, because Dole Whips kind of are self-explanatory. But I love the idea, again, going back this repeatability stuff, that like I can go back and I can I think that you can get a Dole Whip in a Costco or at Walmart or something these days. That,
you can order it on Amazon. You can get the mix.
Okay. So yeah, you can't. There are things that you can do to maybe have some of those Disney experiences at home. I kind of have the mindset to where I would. I usually try to steer clear of doing any of that, because I want to experience the magic and only experience the magic when I am there. And there has been a time or two where I've tried to recreate a recipe or something from Disney, and I love doing that as well. But for things like the Dole Whip, I love that I can go right back to Fantasy or to Adventureland, right to the station, and get my Dole Whip and enjoy it. And it tastes the same as it did 10 years ago when I tried it. And so that kind of repeatability. But for some of those fan favorites, whether it's a turkey leg or the Dole Whip, those kinds of things that are going to be there 9 times out of 10 the next time that you go are just really fun and memorable for me.
Well, so I love the Dole Whip. I love the citrus swirl. There are lots of different variations. There's there's an alcoholic Dole Whip as well. You can vary it up. And something that Disney does so well. I haven't experienced this firsthand yet, but I will, because my son has a gluten allergy, an egg allergy, a beef allergy, a strawberry allergy, nuts and seeds allergy, and I'm missing one other. But he's got 6 big allergies. It can be really hard to find a place to eat, especially for fast food. If we're traveling or in an airport, it is extremely difficult to find something he can eat. But I know from talking to enough people that if you've got dietary restrictions, Disney chefs, whether it's at a sit-down restaurant or quick service, they will cater to your special needs. Also, having family members who have mobility issues, other special, not dietary needs, but other special needs, Disney will take care of that as well, whether it's transportation, needing certain accommodations inside the parks, inside the resorts, whatever. They cater to guest special needs, and it's beautiful to watch.
I agree. I think that's well said. Piggybacking on that, I feel like that's the word of this episode, is not only 50th episode, but piggybacking. Because
50
we've done that.
piggybacks for your enjoyment.
I like that. Piggyback should also be something other than the fact that I'm usually the one giving the piggybacks. And so I've got my kids sweating on my back in that hot July sun down in Orlando.
Yeah.
But other than that, speaking of children, is Disney and their childcare that they offer. We are moving out of this as a family. Our kids are old enough to where if my wife and I wanted a date night, that the kids would probably go into a theme park or just hang out in the room and catch up on their TikToks or whatever that may be, or just go down to the pool, because they're getting old enough to be able to take care of themselves in some of that area. But when the kids were younger, my wife and I availed ourselves of this service, which is childcare. And it was a beautiful thing to be down at Disney for an entire week and to feel like that it was like nonstop, just go, go, go. Even if we're just like going to try to get our money's worth by going to the pool that much more, that like my wife and I, we needed some adult time. We needed some time to just like, we went on a date, and
you need a date
talked about, we needed a date night. And we've talked about this on the show before, but we stayed at the Yacht and Beach Club. And so we were able to walk into Epcot and then to have a dinner there while our kids were being taken care of by wonderful childcare individuals. And we got back and our kids didn't want to leave. They were, I think my daughter was in the middle of watching a Disney princess movie while making a princess dress or dressing up in different princess dresses, where my son was like watching Toy Story, and then he was playing some video games and doing some Lego stuff. So they had things for both of my kids' interests, and just love the idea that that's an option when you're at Disney. Again, choose your own adventure kind of thing. We wanted a date night. We wanted a night where it was just my wife and I being able to catch up in the middle of a very hectic and rushed and enjoyable vacation. But childcare definitely deserves a spot on the list.
Well, and going with that for number 40, you're going to get a family-friendly experience at Disney. If it's something that's more suited for an older audience, they tell you, even the stuff suitable for younger kids, like it's tough to be a bug. There are some things when you're sitting in the seat that poke you, or feels like they're crawling under you, things that come at you through the 3D screen. They let you know. They let you know that it could be scary for some guests, and so they're really thinking about that the whole time. Walt wanted a place where he could take his whole family and they all enjoy it. And they make it funny for adults too, even in the little performances for little kids. The adults have a good time too.
True.
So when I say it's family friendly, it's not just friendly for the little kids.
Yeah.
It caters to the adults as well. You will be entertained. You will have a good time. And that's what I love about Walt Disney World.
All right, so 41. I'm going to not piggyback so much here, but you kind of made me think about it. It's like, you know what it is, a piggyback. You were talking about the ride experiences, about the little, like, Tough to Be a Bug. It reminded me of the old Stitch / alien encounter thing in Tomorrowland, where it did something similar, where, kind of water was squirted on you, or you felt it kind of crawling behind you. And it reminded me of all the fun that I've had in Tomorrowland. And then specifically, one of my favorite things in all of the parks, was just such a small little item, but I love it so much, is the entrance music when you walk into Space Mountain. Just the way that it starts to pull you into the world of Space Mountain. But I don't know why that music is so iconic to me. There, when you first walk in the doors and you kind of walk down some stairs and then you start down the queue, there's something about that French horn that's playing in there. I have to sit and listen to it. Some nights when I have trouble going to sleep, sometimes I'll find a Space Mountain ride music thing that just repeats that music over and over, and I listen to it and it calms me down. And so, for what it's worth, the door entrance music to Space Mountain is one that I have to put on my list. And it's different than the music than when you get into the queue. And then when you get near the ride, it's different music. But there's something about that. Like, I think about that all the time, and I love it. And it's a part of my childhood, and now it's a part of my adulthood. And so the entrance music to Space Mountain has to be on my list.
And you started talking about Stitch's Great Escape, Alien Encounter. They're always doing something different. That could be one in its own, but it made me think, you've got the original Disneyland. You've got Magic Kingdom. Those are, they a little bit mirror each other.
Yeah.
But after that, the parks in their experiences differ.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that Disney provides different experiences, whether you're going to Paris, Shanghai, wherever you're going. You get something a little bit different. It caters to the local culture a little bit, but they're not afraid to change it up just a little bit from park to park. Yeah,
I agree. I think that differing the experiences, but also remaining true to the legacy that Disney has, paying attention to both of those, like remembering the past, paying attention to the future, sort of thing. I love the fact that still in 2021, we are still going to a park, or parks, plural, that really want to honor Walt Disney's legacy. So some of the things, like a few episodes ago, we talked about the Carousel of Progress and what we would do if we were Imagineers and having to overlay it or reimagineer it. I love that idea, but one of the reasons that ride is still there is because that was one of the things that Disney himself touched. And I love the idea that we have different experiences in all of these different parks, but then we also have a nod back to the history of where this all has come from. So Disney's legacy, I think, is what I will say if I'm going to define what this number is for me.
And for 44, one of the things that is part of Disney's legacy is that you want to take care of the customer. Customer service at Disney is just top notch. Often recognized as one of the top customer service companies in the world. And that's one of the things that they teach at their Disney Institute, but they just knock it out of the park. Pun intended. So that's
well said.
That's 44. Chris, bring us to 45.
45, I'm going with The Lion King. Why? You may ask, are you picking out one movie out of all these movies? One of the reasons for The Lion King is that for me, when I was 12 or 13 when it came out, I don't remember my exact age, but around there, it spoke to me in a way. Like, my little budding artist self saw how well they did with drawing it. It was not necessarily a Cinderella type fairy tale with the main character being a female princess kind of thing. There was something about that. And there had been a few times in the past where it hit me as well, like earlier in my childhood with something like Fox and the Hound. Or The Rescuer or something like that, some more adventure-driven things. But there was something about the confluence of the art and the computer-generated stuff that they added, especially like with the water buffalo or whatever they were when they were, there was something that was like, I want to have a career where I do that. Like it hit me in my brain in so many different areas that it just solidified my Disney fandom for life in that one movie. And again, I remember watching it. I was on a church trip and we all went to the movie theater that night and one of those nights and watched that movie. And I felt like I walked out changed, for lack of a better term. So The Lion King itself, it did a very good job of grabbing young Chris where Chris was to make him a fan for life. And I've appreciated everything, especially all the Pixar movies that have come out over the years. Huge Pixar fan, but Lion King really grabbed me at the perfect age to become a lifelong Disney fan.
Well, and kind of taking us back to, just the entertainment, the movie portion of it made me think about, as we get into our final five, there is entertainment everywhere. You see a cast member walking through the park with a mop and bucket. Yeah, they may be cleaning up a mess, but they are also entertaining you with some street art that disappears before your eyes.
Disappears, yeah.
Yeah, they'll draw Mickey, they'll draw Goofy, they'll draw Donald Duck, whatever. And as it dries, it just kind of disappears. It is fantastic, the way that they put entertainment everywhere. It's just brilliant.
I completely agree. And on that note, piggybacking on what you just said, the way that they create opportunities for us to enjoy Disney in a similar but different way, things like extra magic hours, things like the Food and Wine Festival, those types of experiences that sometimes come around only once in a blue moon, like something like a D23 Expo, where I think it's every 2 or 3 years or something like that, which I wish that they were more often, because I love hearing those types of the information coming from those places. But things like you and I have experienced, those extra magic hours, or when my family was down there a few years ago, they had the 24 hours of Disney where you could stay in the Magic Kingdom for 24 hours if you wanted to. That was like the way that they go out of their way to make unique experiences annually or a few times a year or every couple of years. It's just neat. And if I was in the parks just a few weeks ago for Father's Day, there were things that I could have appreciated as a father, different snacks, different experiences, different drinks just for Father's Day, that once Father's Day is gone, they're not available until the next year or maybe never again. So some of those little experiences that they give you just to make every trip down there just that much more unique. I love that about Disney.
Yeah. All the special events that they do are just really awesome. For 48, I think I'm going to roll a couple into this.
Ooh, I like it. Yeah.
That Disney does an exceptional job at training their employees. They are ready for helping guests, kind of when they're turned out into the wild. But also because Disney employees are very coveted when they go to another company.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
The college program, basically interns, if they've got that on their resume, they're very coveted. And that's because of some great leadership at the Disney company. They train their employees well. They give them ways that they can move up. And so exceptional training and great leadership, I'm going to make as 48 for, on our top 50 list. So Chris, we will get to some honorable mentions. But what's the last one you wanted to share on your top 50 list?
The last one I wanted to share is one, again, that I've experienced a time or two in my time, which is an afternoon at the Yacht and Beach Club pool. that experience for me, the sandy bottomed pool that they have there, it blew me away the first time that I went there. I didn't know that that was a possibility, that was an experience that I was going to take. When I first went there, my wife and I were still dating, and we went down with her family and we're experiencing Disney there. And her dad very graciously got us all places at the Yacht and Beach Club, which was just great. And then when I walked out there and saw that sandy bottomed pool, I was like, what? This is not what you expect at like a resort like this. And it blew me away. And then I went to Beaches and Cream and had one of the just best kind of, had a milkshake and a hamburger and some fries and, kind of typical fashion of a place like that. It's just kind of a hamburger joint, kind of themed in a 50s style motif. But the whole experience there was just great. And so I wanted to mention, before I ran out of places to put it, just an experience there at the Yacht and Beach Club, but specifically that sandy bottom pool, and then getting a Beaches and Cream burger and fries and a milkshake there. It feels like you're on vacation. It feels like that you are being transported to another place and time. And I just love it. And I wish that I could stay at the Yacht and Beach Club every time that I'm down there, which is not the case. But when I do have the opportunity to, I really revel and relish spending time around that pool and getting some milkshakes as well. So the Yacht and Beach Club, Sandy Bottom Pool / Beaches and Cream for a nice lunch there. That's going to be my last on the list.
I love stopping by Beaches and Cream. Just especially on a hot day, get something a little cool. Walk around with it. I'm going to end with Disney. We talked about story earlier.
I'm theme rolling, or I'm drum rolling for you.
They remember their story. They remember it. It all started with a mouse. And as they're rolling out this 50th anniversary, Mickey made another appearance in the parks recently with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. That they know it all started with bringing just a little bit of enjoyment specifically to kids, but then to entire families. And that's why you have hidden Mickeys. You've got some hidden Minnies too. You got some other characters, but hidden Mickeys, because it all started with Mickey. It all started with this relationship that Walt had with this animated character that, it just set everything else in motion, because they've tried other things in the past and they hadn't worked, or it was a business deal gone bad with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. We can get into all that in another episode, but it all started with a mouse. And
well said.
If we counted correctly, that is our top 50.
I believe you're right.
If not, I know I've got a few honorable mentions. Chris, are there any honorable mentions that you wanted to bring up before we sign off?
I know that when you and I were creating this list, we only were tasked with doing 25, and I think both of us made it into the 40s here. I'm counting currently 41, and I could have gone on from there. But just a few I tried to combine. And so just like food experiences around Disney resorts, whether it's the La Brea Bread Company at downtown Disney in Disneyland, or being able to experience some of those things over on the West Coast or in Walt Disney World itself. Everything from what I mentioned, the San Angel Cantina, the Hoop-de-Doo musical review, the Flame Tree Barbecue and Animal Kingdom, Casey's Corner, the Rose and Crown Pub, all of this food, it just is amazing to me. And so those could have been several different numbers, but I tried to not go overboard with that. On top of that, the entertainment, especially, I think Disney Plus could have had its own number here, just because of all the joy that it's brought to you and me over the past year and a half or so. But especially those TV shows, everything, or WandaVision, Mandalorian, Winter Soldier, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki could have had their own numbers that I really could have gone on about some of those. The way that Disney deals with planning your vacation to make it as easy as possible on the internet, or you can use a travel agent that knows so much and can find a lot of value for you. There's just so many different experiences that you can have. And so those maybe are some of my my honorable mentions. I mean, I could have gone into a whole diatribe on Pixar and how much my love for Pixar has only grown over the years. And so just a lot of things, the different acquisitions of different intellectual property. I know we touched on a little bit, but I would have loved to have gone into more detail. So there's just some of my honorable mentions, but I tried to weave them in to our top 50 there. How about you? I'd love to hear some of your honorable mentions as well.
Yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean and Peter Pan. Those are probably my two favorite rides. Some of that gets into nostalgia, which you touched on. But with Pirates of the Caribbean, and you also touched on this a little bit, Disney's not afraid to create something new out of something old. The movie franchise that they created with Pirates of the Caribbean, first one was great. The rest of them were pretty good. But they're always comfortable daring to experiment and explore.
Well said.
They love the environment, living with the land gets into some of that. They're always trying to progress and evolve, using new technology, all this projection stuff that they're doing for the 50th anniversary in Walt Disney World. They're not only projecting on the castle, which they've done for a while, they're going to project on the buildings on Main Street as well.
Oh, that's cool.
They take care of what they've been given. And the thing that made me think of this is they don't sell gum in parks. They don't want gum sticking on your shoes. They don't want the spots that it leaves on the concrete. So they just don't sell it. I mean, you can bring it in, but it deters you a little bit when you can't just buy it in the park.
True.
That they are committed to theming and story. What else do I have? I think that's about it, but it just all comes down to the details, and they don't skip over the details, and that is what helps make it magical. So I think, especially if you haven't heard our other episodes, from this, you can understand we love Disney. And we love talking about it, nerding out just a little bit, but not getting too nerdy when somebody who isn't into it starts
have to temper our excitement oftentimes.
But I've been the Disney guy, that guy who loves everything Disney. Oh, you should go talk to Bradley because he loves it. I love being that, not because I know the most about it. Far from it. I just love helping other people find something they're going to enjoy down at Walt Disney World. And if you want some help figuring out what you might enjoy at Walt Disney World, go to themouseandmen.com, where you can get our top 10 things for grown-ups to do in Walt Disney World. Find links to our social media profiles. Find a link to our YouTube channel where we broadcast the podcast. Top 50 plus. I think we covered a lot. I'm sure there's a lot that we're forgetting as well. If you've got something you really love about Disney, Walt Disney World, leave it in the comments on YouTube. Send us a message through social media. Let us know what we left off of our top 50 plus list. We say it every week. This is how we sign off. I love it because there's something about Disney that takes us back to childhood. And even if you didn't have a great childhood, it allows you to relive it a little bit. And that is why every week we say you don't want to grow up too fast.
Whether it's 50 episodes here or 50 years at Disney World, there's so much to find out, so much to explore with those Disney details. So you got to keep exploring.
That
50
was awesome.
episodes. 50. Man, great work, friend.
Yes, sir.
Pal.
There was so much less overlap than I expected.
Yeah, agreed.
And
Agreed.
and that was fantastic.